Hey everybody, my name is Joe Pace. Welcome to Icewater Yoga. Today's class is a recovery class where we're going to engage pretty much every part of the body in a really short amount of time, probably something like 15 minutes. So the only thing I would recommend for you to have or use is something to sit on. So I'm sitting on a block and it's elevating my hips about 4 inches or so when I sit on it like that. What this does for us is it elevates the hips so we're actually not torquing into our low back and forcing ourselves into any sort of forward bending position in a way that's going to compromise our hips and our low back or force us too far into some of the muscles we're going to try to stretch. So anything to sit on, anything firm. Okay, so put mine back where it came from. And we'll start in just a comfortable seated position. And so before we even get going into the active physical work, just getting into the right headspace and the appropriate approach and mental space for what we're going to be doing, and really just trying to get into a space of taking care of our bodies. Okay, so sitting with a tall upright spine, chest tall, feeling as though you're stacking every vertebrae in your back on top of one another. You can bring your eyes to a close. We're just going to take 5 deep breaths here. They don't have to be special in any way. Just make them as deep as you can on the inhale and exhale. And so we use this time, if not for anything else, to just transition away from what we were doing previously, which may have been asking us to perform or do something in a particular way that doesn't necessarily take into account what the effect is on our body, and moving into a space where we're paying full attention to exactly the opposite. We want to pay full attention to our body and what it's telling us. We'll take the last breath here. Okay, bring the eyes open. From here, seated on a block, we'll take the legs straight out ahead of you. If you feel like you do have openness in the lower body enough to not require a block, no worries, don't have to sit on one. But if you do, sit the actual sit bones, the pointy part of your butt, right on the edge, so that your hips pitch a little bit more forward. And then from that position, rock forward gently, and we're just going to find a space where this forward bend feels good. We're not worrying about a deep stretch. Just find a place where it feels good. You also have the option to bend your knees. We want to feel a stretch in the back of the legs. And from this position, when we feel like we've got a positive stretch in the back of the legs, find an engagement in them. So engage your legs from your hips all the way through your toes, so they're a little bit activated. And then from that place, hang out in the stretch. So this isn't a deep, major forward fold. This is just feeling what a long-held, engaged stretch feels like in the hamstrings and the calves. You can draw the toes back in towards you, maybe walk the heels out a little bit further from you, engaging the legs fully, hands to the mat. And the reason we engage the muscles is so that we're working within isometric tension, which may not bring us as deep into the pose, but what it does is it actually gives us a little bit more active range of motion that we can access through our lives and everything that we do. Just a simple forward fold. Spending a little bit of time here on purpose to let things start to open up over time without force. And keep the deep breaths you had at the beginning of class. Slowly walk the hands back in towards you if you had them to the floor. We can remove the block here. We'll come to hands and knees. So just hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. And you may feel a little bit of tension in the low back from that forward fold. So let's just counteract that with a lifting of the chest and a lifting of the tailbone. And then exhale, press the mat away, dome the upper back, spread the shoulder blades. Inhale, chest lifts, tailbone lifts. We're not trying to warm up here. We're just trying to access the spine a little bit. Press the mat away, tuck the tailbone, spread the shoulder blades. A couple more just like that. Opening up and articulating the spine, lifting through the chest, lift the tailbone. Exhale, feel every vertebrae in forward flexion as best as you can. Inhale, lift. Exhale, press the mat away. Inhale, lift. Exhale, press the mat away. Come back to a neutral spine. So feeling a little bit of warmth, but we just want to make sure we're just moving our body in a mindful way, not trying to get a workout here at all, as much as tempting as that might be. All right, so we'll keep the knees underneath the hips. Plant the left hand firmly into the mat. Extend through your left shoulder, so your shoulder is far from your left ear. Right hand will come to the ceiling. Feel the twist here, and we're just going to stay and breathe here. So trying to keep the hips in line with one another, and your hand may not reach directly towards the ceiling. If you feel as though you're cranking your right shoulder open, you can always bring the right hand out at a diagonal. So it'll look something like this. You can bring it out as a diagonal. You can also bring your right hand to your right hip and then press the chest open. That'll probably feel better on the shoulder anyway. Right hand comes back where it came from, and then we're taking the other side. Left hand to left hip or left hand out to your side. We twist it open to the left. It's just a really nice moderate twist, extending the tailbone straight back and the crown of the head straight forward. Maybe the hand to the hip. So you open the chest to the left. This is just some simple postures done with intention and deep breath. Left hand comes back to the floor. From here, we're going to press it back to downward facing dog, and we're going to use this as less of a warm-up and more of just a hamstring stretch. So lift the tailbone. Hands are just supporting the pose, so don't worry so much about what's going on in the upper body. Lift the hips, draw the heels down towards the mat. Without being very warm, knees bent is going to be a really good idea to stay in the pose. You want to make sure you're not hunching forward in the pose, and if you feel as though that's happening, walk the hands further from the feet, and then from here to longer stance and maybe a little bit more active. But you draw the heels down towards the mat, and you feel as though your chest could drop towards the floor. So it's a little bit more of a concave back and upper back. Perhaps always an option to just straighten out your back, gaze comes towards the fingers. And then from here, keep the tailbone lifting, spin the upper, inner thighs in towards one another. For 2. And 1. From here, come to the knees. So we just warmed up the shoulders a little bit. Let's use that. We'll take the hands out by our sides with the palms face up. And then from here, thumbs will draw straight back behind us. Lifting through the chest, any comfortable seat. You can sit back on your block if you'd like. From here, take the palms up towards the ceiling, exploring the full range of motion of your shoulder. Actively engaging it. If you feel any pain or tension, please go around that pain. Palms will reach up over the head, towards the ceiling, palms facing each other. And then we're coming back where we came from. Arms wide, palms face up, reach back with your thumbs. All the way down back to parallel, and then we'll come back where we came from, reaching back with the thumbs and up with the palms, maybe reaching back through your full range of motion. Arms will come overhead, and then we'll come back where we came from, thumbs back, palms up. From here, arms come back in line with your shoulders, hands come back in line with your shoulders. Turn your palms face down, rotate the arms, palms face behind you if you can, thumbs face down, extend through your fingers. And then from here, lift just really moderately, nothing crazy. Spin the palms back forward, palms will face up, and then thumbs will rotate back and maybe towards down. Finding range of motion in the shoulders. From here, palms point forward. We'll bring the right arm underneath the left. Give yourself a bear hug. All right, so try to grab the outsides of the shoulders. If that's not accessible, just find a place that you can grab onto gently, just grabbing opposite shoulders. Draw the shoulder blades down the back. You do have the option of drawing the back of the hands towards each other, maybe interlace the hands like so. So it's a double bind. Always the option to be here. Wherever you are, lift your elbows, draw the shoulder blades down the back, getting a nice upper back stretch. Breathe deep. Last breath here. Gently release, arms come back where they came from, reach out wide. Other side, left arm underneath right. Give yourself a big bear hug. Maybe the back of the hands towards each other. Maybe interlace in front of you. Draw the elbows up and away from you as you draw the shoulder blades down. All right, for this one, I'll demonstrate the arms not connected, so we don't have the hands double bound. Lift the elbows, shoulder blades draw down the back. Come back where you came from, release, arms will reach wide. Lift through the chest. And then from here, come back to neutral, hands to a comfortable space in front of you. Wherever you're seated, that's gonna work for what we're doing right now. We'll take the left hand to the right leg, right hand gently behind you, place the right hand at your low back, lift through your chest, and then twist over to the right, just a gentle twist. One deep inhale here. Exhale, release, come back towards center. Left hand will come to the low back, right hand to the left leg, lift through the chest first. Gently rotate it open, deep breath here, inhale. Exhale, come back through center. From here, interlace the fingers, press the palms out away from you, cave the chest in as you press away with the hands. Feel the shoulder blades spreading, reaching with the fingers forward. Extend through the shoulders. Take the palms up towards the ceiling, lift up through the palms, reach out through the shoulders, lift the chest, maybe come into a gentle back bend. Back to center, arms reaching overhead, press the palms towards the ceiling. Gently release. Okay, last pose here. From here, we're gonna take a lizard pose. So really moderate hip opener, something that we haven't really addressed too much. But it addresses both hips simultaneously, but in different ways. So it's definitely a nice, efficient one to use. If you had a block that you were sitting on, always an option to take that underneath your hands in this pose. We'll start with right knee underneath right hip. And then from that place, we'll make sure the left knee stays on top of the left ankle. Hands can come to the floor. Always an option there with fingertips. Always an option to walk the right knee back. And then from here, you lift through the chest, keep the hips lifting. So you want to draw the hip points, the two bony parts of the front of your hip. You want them to lift up so that you're not sinking and drawing down and crunching into the hips. Lift the hip points, feel the stretch in the front right hip and deep in the left hip. So we don't want to worry about coming so deep into this pose that we're cranking into the hip. And if you can't reach the floor with your hands, put your hands on something, whether it's a stack of books or a couple pillows or whatever, just something to support. A stack of pillows actually might not be that great, but something that's going to firmly support your hands and not going to cave underneath the weight of your body. So keep it active. Draw the right knee forward as you energetically slide the left foot back. Neither of them will move, but that feeling and that action is going to activate the pose. For 2. And 1. Lift your right knee off the ground. Step the left foot back. Come back to your knees. Come back to seated. We'll take the other side. Right foot comes forward. Both hands inside the right leg. And from here, we're not so worried about how far away our back knee is from our front foot. We want to find a comfortable distance where we can bring our hands down to something and then lift through the hip points as you find the comfortable distance between your back knee and your front foot, lifting through the chest, lifting through the hip points. Maybe feel as though you can slide energetically, not actually making your foot or knee slide. Your back knee energetically forward, your front right foot energetically sliding backward. You'll feel your right hamstring turn on. You'll feel more support in the pose as your hips descend. For 3, 2, 1. Lift up off the left knee. Right foot comes back to meet it. Set both knees down. All right. So a pretty brief class overall. We're going to close in just the same seated way that we did before. This is a really nice way to just briefly get into the spine, briefly get into the legs, shoulders, upper back. So we touched a lot of stuff today. We'll close with just some simple breathing, moving into the rest of our day or evening the same way we entered into our practice today, doing everything that we can to be as mindful as possible. So find a comfortable seat. You can sit back on the block if you'd like. Eyes will come to a close. And then just 5 deep breaths on your own time, not worrying about anything but just the breath. Gently open your eyes. All right, a very mild, brief class, but hopefully a really productive one for you. Thank you for your time. Namaste.